This is Fox and Friends.
Hello there, I'm Janice Dean.
Janice Dean, the weather machine.
The golfing machine.
Janice Dean, the repelling machine.
The climbing machine.
But now she's also a writing machine.
Janice, what's the weather looking like?
It's the Super Bowl of meteorology here in Gobbler's Knob. This is like my favorite sporting event of all time. This is the 144th Kentucky Derby.
Muckfest MS, a cause that's very near and dear to my heart. It's close to me because I was diagnosed back in 2005. I came on Fox and Friends. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So I'm here to tell people there is hope. You can do well. I think we need more of that.
Janice Dean and her firefighter husband, Sean, make a firehouse favorite.
Thanks, honey. Thank you for cooking.
What other dishes do I make at home other than the pizza bagels? Cookies.
All right, good. I sense. Take a look at the check sheet just presented.
You happen to be on Fox and Friends? Mom,
We love tossing the jam.
Ah, that's great.
All right. We count on Janice Dean, the weather machine, for up-to-the-minute forecast, especially when things like happen in Alabama. But there's so much more to Janice, and now we know it because we have her brand new book out.
I know. And her powerful new memoir, it's called Mostly Sunny, How I Learned to Keep Smiling Through the Rainiest Days. Readers get an honest, inside look at Janice's life outside the spotlight.
That's right. And her memoir hits the shelves today, and Janice joins us live. Janice, I love the way you opened the book, Mostly Sunny, where it sounds like the voice that you use out on the plaza,
Right.
where you're talking about today's weather,
Yeah.
but it's actually back in your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, this is a dream come true. Ever since I was a little girl, I used to love to hear my voice in my dad's big tape recorder. I used to read the book Alice in Wonderland. Before I could read, I had memorized it, and I would listen to my voice played back. And then I would interview kids in the neighborhood.
What's your name? Where are you from?
What's your name?
Sound
Where are you
familiar?
from? And so it's amazing to me that it's a full circle moment, that from that dream, I'm here living the dream. And to have this book now and be on the couch with you is really, truly surreal.
Right.
We've been through,
Go ahead.
sorry, thanks. We've been through so much together as a family, as a Fox family. So what I love about this is you're very honest and you're very real. You talk about your struggle with your weight and how that one kid bullied you, and you name him in the book, and I loved that. Sorry, but, you know, our words have consequences, and the way you treat people can affect people for the rest of their lives. And you write about that. But you're fun. You've been dealt, in many ways, a tough hand with the MS. But you're so fun and courageous and loving, and we watched you raise your boys. We're watching you raise your boys, fall in love with Sean.
Yeah.
You're just the real picture of what an American woman goes through.
Oh, well, it's a journey, right? And I think...
As a Canadian.
Well, I got here from Canada legally. You'll be happy to know I talk about that in my book. But it is a journey that I'm glad to share, because when you go through tough times, you want to know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
So this is a book in a sense that I wrote to myself, because there have been many moments in my life where I just wanted to feel that there was hope, that there was someone out there that was doing the same thing or going through the same thing. And so many of the passages in here I love to write because I was writing to myself during a struggling time.
What about Mrs. Klein? Who was Mrs. Klein? Because you're going to read an excerpt out of your book.
I'm glad you're getting the teary one out of the way. So Mrs. Klein was a teacher of Matthew last year, my son Matthew, and she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and I wanted to read you a chapter or a paragraph from that chapter that's very important to me, because God puts these people in our lives for a reason. And on the first day of third grade, my son Matthew came home to tell me his teacher, Mrs. Klein, was in a wheelchair. She said it was important for kids to see her working like everyone else despite being in a wheelchair. I asked Matthew what he thought of that, and he said, I think she's the coolest teacher I've ever had. Aww. Did she say why she was in a wheelchair? She said she had something called MS. And at that moment, I realized I had never really told my two boys that I have multiple sclerosis. They knew I had to give myself injections to make me feel better, but not exactly why. And now I had to tell Matthew and his brother Theodore that I had the same thing as Mrs. Klein. Matthew's eyes got wider, and he asked, will you be in a wheelchair? Anyway, Mrs. Klein is a beautiful woman, and I'm so grateful she was given to me by God to be able to talk to my boys about that I also have the same thing that Mrs. Klein has, and she's doing great.
Right,
that
and there's something else, too. You talk about Neil Cavuto, and if it's possible to like Neil Cavuto more, you do at the end of this book. You went to Neil when you were diagnosed.
He's a hero to me because when I was diagnosed, I didn't have anybody to look to, and I didn't know anything about the illness. And he had it, and he was doing great, and he had told others that he had MS. So I went into his office, and I remember the day, and he turned off the television, and he sat there, and he brought the chair right up to me, and he had a steady stream of Kleenexes, and he told me, "You're going to be fine. We've got this. I've got your back." And he's a hero to me, and I'm so grateful because he really paved the way for me coming out with my diagnosis and helping others.
And go ahead.
You have this side to you that is so much fun, and we all witness it. You always have a smile on your face. You make everything happy, and you find just fun moments in life, and you have a little wild streak in you.
Listen, I used to be a classic rock DJ back in the day.
You have a Steven Tyler excerpt.
I have a great Steven Tyler story, so let me share that with you.
Read out of the book.
Okay, like I'm pretending to read out of the book? Okay.
There you go. Just read it right off the teleprompter.
Dear Diary.
Here we go. A few minutes later, it was time for pictures with the band. I was number 4 and knew it would take a while to get to me. Group number 1 was called, and they were getting into position with the band. Steven Tyler called out, "Where's Janice Dean? Janice Dean, where are you? Come here, Janice Dean." He was looking over at me, and when Steven Tyler asks you where you are to come over, you probably should head over. So I did, and he pulled me right next to him, and he said, "This is where you belong."
And you made that picture, and then years later, he signed it.
I was on Fox and Friends on the weekend, and we had played Love in an Elevator, one of Aerosmith's greatest songs, and I had a few minutes, and I was like, when I was a DJ, I met Steven Tyler, and we had a moment together, and we took a picture, and I would love to have him sign it.
Is that where it ended? Is that where the moment ended?
So 25 years later, I get in touch with somebody who knows his PR people. He signs it, and in the book, you will see the autograph from Steven
Right, so you
Tyler.
didn't end up marrying him?
No.
No,
It
okay.
sounded
But
like
there
he was
is a
kind of
great
asking you
story in
out.
there. That's a tease for what might be in Mostly Sunny.
A couple of things that stand out. Number one, I'm a terrible person, and you chronicle that. What an awful human being.
Well, listen, I don't hate anyone in my life, but that should have been my best job. It had everything I ever wanted. It had radio, it had television.
Bernie and Sid, who were great.
I love Bernie and Sid, and I write about that. It was in New York City, and he just treated me terribly. And I thought it was important for people to know what to do when you have somebody who's abusive.
Right. I think the whole book is about you overcoming things, not saying, woe is me. I need a plan to get out of this and move forward, and you did.
I did, and I came here, and it was the best decision I ever made.
Well, maybe you'll hear from him after he reads the book, and maybe he'll...
Listen, he has a family. I get that. But that year was one of the most tumultuous years of my life, and I don't think I should have been treated that way, and now I get to stand up.
Well, and some of the things that we've actually had on the program were on your bucket list. Singing backup for Leonard Skinner. You can read all about it. It's a fantastic new book. It's available everywhere. It's called Mostly Sunny.
And I got to dance with him at one point, too. Brian Kilmeade.
Oh, yeah. I went on and on and on. Absolutely.
You said you never would, and it changed.
I know. But the book is fantastic.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you to my family here at Fox.
You are a wonderful person.
So are you guys.
Thank you. All right, how will Bernie Sanders pay for his Medicare for All plan? By getting rid of private health insurance? Congressman John Joyce is a doctor and says that'll never work. He's here live next.
Sports Update is brought to you by the